everyone, and welcome to the GeekWave. This is the low-budget show. It's the show so low it has no budget. But we got some holiday cheer going on, folks. It's the holiday season. Maybe we'll do a couple episodes about Christmassy stuff or whatever. I don't know. This one just came about because I read a really weird article about Santa Clauses. And I was like, let's talk about these Santa Clauses in particular. So we're going to go over the best Santa Clauses according to this article that came out this year within just under a month of this video going out from Vulture. We'll get into that in a minute. But we do have a little bit of news to talk about. Not a whole lot. We did take a week off, and I was so busy most of that week. I just didn't record a bunch of news that I wanted to talk about. It's also the holiday season, so the main thing is it's award season, so there's just a bunch of awards news coming out, and we'll do big awards recaps when the big shows come out. I liked all the stuff for the Gotham Awards this year. I thought that was really cool. The New York's Critics Circle, interesting picks. LA Critics stuff, interesting picks. A lot of weird picks going on, but a lot of front runners. If I had to say a front runner right now for any category, I think it's Kieran Culkin. I think he's going to win Best Supporting for almost everything, which is kind of interesting. But whatever. So we have a little bit to talk about, one trailer, a couple newses of casting and big movie stuff. Starting with this, an actor who's been having an interesting couple of weeks. Keoghan. You know him as being Sabrina Carpenter's boyfriend, maybe. Not now, probably. Well, he was one of the names attached to that huge 4-film picture about each one of the Beatles. It looks like he's going to be Ringo Starr. I think Ringo even confirmed it. That's where this news came about. There was other names floating around for the other guys. I can't perfectly remember them. I think it was was it Paul Mescal was going to be Paul, and then Harris Dickinson was John, and Joseph Quinn was George, or was the George and John mixed and different? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure Paul Mescal was Paul McCartney though. So Keoghan as Ringo Starr, an interesting choice. I mean, I don't see it, but I don't know. I don't know who you would cast as Ringo Starr though. He's got a very distinctive look, and he is kind of I don't want to say the ugly one, because that's not right. He's not the classically pretty boy that you see from some of these other guys. So, interesting choice. Not against it. Kind of exciting. We'll see how that goes. But Keoghan's been having an interesting couple of weeks, so I guess the idea that he could be Ringo Starr could re-solidify his career. I don't know. So, okay, I know we talked about this before, but if those 4 movies come out, let's say it's 2 a year starting in 2027, how do you think nominations go for that? Do you think in 1 year, okay, say it's 2027, we get the Paul and we get the John movie, so does Paul Mescal and Harris Dickinson get supporting actor, and then Barry and Joseph get... No, I mean, they get lead actor, and then Barry and Joseph get supporting, and then the following year it just alternates? It's weird. I don't know how that's going to go. But cool. Keoghan is Ringo Starr. That's very fun. You know what else is fun? The hot streak that Tom Cruise has been on. He's got Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, coming out in May. He just wrapped up working with Alejandro Inarritu on another movie. And now he's potentially going to re-team with Doug Liman on a new film called Deeper. Deeper is kind of a psychological horror thing. Something that Cruise hasn't really done yet. So this Deadline article says, Deeper follows an astronaut who encounters a terrifying force while on a deep dive. Oh, a deep dive. It's not in space, sorry. Because they were going to do a space movie at one point. Well, he's on a deep dive into never-before-explored trench. Cool. Is Tom Cruise... Now that Tom Cruise is going to, fight AI in The Final Reckoning, is Tom Cruise now going to fight Cthulhu? Is that what next for Tom Cruise? Lovecraftian creatures from beyond the deep? Maybe. That's pretty cool. I think that's awesome. Limen is an interesting director. Like he did the new Roadhouse, which is not a great movie, but the techniques it's using, I'd like to see that underwater. And Tom Cruise can hold his breath for a long time, so why not try to do that? I'm not against it. I think it's kind of a fun idea. Let's see what it's about. Could be compelling, but you never know. I don't know. I like this air of Tom Cruise. He's like, well, might as well have some fun with my buddies again. I like that. Make some weird movies. Like his one of Inuartu, if that's how you pronounce it. I can't remember how you pronounce Inuartu's last name. Where he's like, I am the messiah of a new era, and I'm going to protect the world from a disaster. God, that's so cool. Good for Cruise, just making weird movies. I love it. Our final piece of news to talk about is a trailer for a show that I've liked for a long time now called Yellowjackets. It is officially set to start in 2025, very early into the year. I believe it was February, around that time. I think we'll do weekly recaps again. I like talking about that show, and the trailer didn't give us anything really, but I don't know, it's just cool to go back. It's a fun world. The girls are going deeper insane. If we get a season 4, do we see them get off of the woods stuff? Because they're all going to be 4 years older now. How much more can we do it? I don't know. Quickly descending into madness is always a fun thing to see, so let's see how crazy they get. And in the present day, our old beautiful ladies, who wants to hurt them? So there's a tease in the trailer somebody's trying to kill us. Who is it? Maybe Jackie's not dead or something. No, that'd be dumb. It's the son of Jackie or something. I don't know. We'll see. Cool. I like the show. I hope it's weird. I hope it gets weird. I don't think they needed to kill Natalie. Juliette Lewis could have still continued. But I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, let's talk about Santa. Not only is it the Christmas season, but within the past couple of weeks, we have seen the release of 2, count 'em, 2 movies about Santa Claus, kind of. Red One just came out, a film I haven't seen, because it doesn't look interesting or cool, but I find it absolutely funny that McFarlane Toys has a whole line of Red One figures, because I can't imagine a single person wanting to buy one. So that's cool. What if Dwayne Johnson was an elf or something and J.K. Simmons was Santa Claus and he went missing, so they had to hire Chris Evans, the world's greatest detective, to find him, is the premise of that movie. If it sounds good, I'm sorry you have bad taste. I apologize for you not caring about anything. The other one is called Dear Santa, and that one has Jack Black, and he plays the devil or something. A kid is dyslexic, and he's instead of saying Dear Santa, he says Dear Satan, and Jack Black's doobity-doo, I'm Satan or something. Horrendous. What has happened to Santa Claus in media? What have we done to our boy? Who hurt him? I don't understand. I like the idea of Santa Claus a lot. I think the concept is fun. It's a very cinematic concept, a very storybook concept. It is such old school folklore of there's this magical guy who was a normal human once, but he was so nice and good. He just decided to give gifts to children, and we built a whole folklore out of him, and he became an icon. And then sometime in the early aughts of Coca-Cola, they're what if he was jolly and had a huge beard and he wore a red suit because Coca-Cola? And then everyone's yes, that is it. You nailed Mr. Santa Claus perfectly. That's so weird. Very weird. It's cool though. I don't know. It's fun. it's just like talking about like an icon. It's like something that's like existed in culture forever, like this staple of a guy. Like it's such like a weird, simple idea that you can tell kids there's a magical being who has a sleigh with reindeer and he gives you a present on Christmas. And it's not like a god, you know? A lot of like lore and like religion throughout every type of like country or continent or whatever, they have their figures that are like this. Like, you know, there's some guy who comes into your house and he eats all your potatoes and you have to like leave out like a pot of salt or something so it stays away. But this guy, he's not even like associated like with a religion. You know, it's not like he's connected to Jesus or something, because Christmas is supposedly Jesus' birthday. Santa's just like a different thing entirely connected to that. And we don't have a lot of things like that. The other things like it are like the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy, I guess, where it's like, if you lose your tooth, a thing that's a woman in a dress will come to your house. She'll take the tooth from under your pillow and she'll leave you money. And we just tell kids that's real. Now, I don't have children at this point in time. Do parents still do that? I feel like with like the rise of internet culture, some things just kind of get lost. Like, is Santa still prominent in young people, or is he just like an icon that represents a holiday movie? I don't really know. Like, I don't know what kids think anymore. Is the Easter Bunny still like a thing that people celebrate? I don't know. Either way, this is a list from vulture.com, and they ranked a bunch of Santas. This is in conjunction to the film Red One, and we'll talk about why in a minute here. Do you have a favorite Santa Claus? Before we get into this, do you have a favorite Santa Claus? If you do, tell me. I don't have one. In terms of live action stuff, I will probably say it's Miracle on 34th Street. I think what that represents there is really cool. I'm not a big like Christmas head, you know? Like I'm not like obsessed with like Christmas movies and stuff like that. I have written a script for a Christmas movie though, so like what am I talking about? Either way, this character is kind of fun. So yeah, vulture.com. I will tag the website if you want to read the article yourself. But we're going to go through it and just talk about these Santas. Now, this is about like the actors portraying Santa. So, I don't know. Multiple movies will be mentioned and that kind of stuff. Some of these I haven't seen, but you get the gist of it. We'll get into it. So, there's 21 people that are mentioned. Let's get into it. Starting with number 21, Paul Giamatti in the film Fred Claus, which is more about Vince Vaughn being the brother of Santa. Hey, that's a fun idea. I like that concept. A very Vince Vaughn idea that makes a lot of sense. And I don't think Giamatti is bad in that movie, but he's asked to just be like mad at his brother for most of it, and he doesn't, you know, get that much to do. It's not really about him, so it's just like a fine interpretation of the character. I'm not blown away by it. I'm just looking at it like, yeah, this is getting the job done. And sometimes that's all you need. And Paul Giamatti rocks, so that's just a bonus. Number 20 is Richard Riley in The Search for Santa Claus. I don't know what this is. Is this a movie about like a dog that's Santa or something? I don't know. That's so weird. Whatever. His Santa has the kind of amnesia that you only see in movies. Okay, so Santa Claus forgets he's Santa. That's lame. I'm sorry, that's lame. I like Richard Riley enough. That's kind of lame. This movie's from 2010, folks. So, there you go. This list at number 19, you're not going to believe this, has J.K. Simmons from Red One. I don't know if that's recency biased, but I can't imagine. You know what? I'll say this. I think there are really good interpretations of the buff, you know, woodsman, frontiersman Santa Claus that we have seen. I think, Rise of the Guardians, that animated movie, has a good version of Santa Claus where he's like a tough Russian guy. I think the comic book Claus, or Klaus, whatever you want to say, from Grant Morrison and Dan Mora is really good. That's a fun interpretation of like a tough-ass guy. But I think getting J.K. Simmons, just like being buff and just looking like J.K. Simmons, is really boring. I think that's really boring and does nothing for me. Again, I haven't seen the movie. I don't plan on seeing it. Maybe we'll come back and do it for Movie Tales in 5 years. We'll see. But who cares? Who cares? Like, you can't... Is that really, like, your favorite Christmas movie, like, character version? I don't know. It's very weird. I can't imagine, J.K. Simmons as Santa being the highlight of that movie. But maybe I'm wrong. Now, this next one we have to talk about because I think I might actually do a Movie Tales talking about this movie. So, this is John Call in the film Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Now, the thing about this film is, when I was taking a class in high school just about, like, film and film history, I watched this film. It was one of the films, like, my teacher showed us, and it stuck with me because it's incredible. It's an incredibly bizarre, insane little movie that just has such a weird vibe to it. There's very distinctive kids doing very distinctive stuff, weird technology, Merlin. Dude, it's awesome. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians rocks. Like, this movie is just so much fun. If you haven't seen it, it's very easy to find like a copy floating around online somewhere. At this point in time, looking at this list, this is my favorite Santa Claus. This one right here. Because this movie is not only one I like and I have a history with, I just think it's a really fun movie, and the Santa Claus has his complete vibe. He's just like he's a guy who's like, no, what we're doing is important, and sometimes you have to like do certain things and like talk about stuff, but no, we're doing good here. It's good. Good movie. Number 17. James Cosmo in The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Now, as we are sitting here talking, I am going to look up Santa Claus in Narnia because I sure as hell don't remember him being in that movie. Oh, he's like Father Christmas. Okay, there he is. Okay, I have a very weird history with Narnia because I just don't give a shit. But I didn't know there was a Santa in it. And I'm willing to bet at the time I didn't know it was Santa either. I like the way this guy looks, though. Like, he looks like the scary, craggly freak. Are we going to have to watch the Narnia movies? Oh, my God. I like it. This looks insane. I'm kind of impressed with it. Oh, yes! Okay, now I remember. Yes, because everyone like wants a gift, and doesn't he give like the girl like a bow and arrow or something? Now that makes sense. Okay. Cool. So James Cosmo, what if like a weird freaky old man was Santa? Number 16 is George Wendt as Santa Baby / Santa Buddies, The Legend of Santa Paws. Two different films, and in them, I don't know. What if Norm was Santa? Look, I haven't seen either of these movies, and if I have, I don't remember, but just hearing the name George Wendt was Santa, I'm like, oh yeah, that is the role you should have been taking on after you did Norm. Like, that is a perfect choice for you, because you are jolly and interesting, and you have that energy. So, that's fun. One of them had Jenny McCarthy in it, so you're like, okay. The other one, another dog-adjacent movie. Should we do like a dog movie video at some point too? Like movies that are about dogs as dogs? Weird. Number 15, Steve Guttenberg. Single Santa seeks Mrs. Claus. Okay? And Meet the Santas. So, what are we doing here? Just hearing that title, again, I don't know what these movies are. The other thing about Santa, too, is like, A lot of them are like Hallmark movies, or just like they're on that channel where you just like put a big guy in a beard as Santa for a minute, and you just like move on with your life, and they just like have the same rotating actor doing all that stuff. It means nothing to me, truthfully. Steve Guttenberg's a fine actor, but I hear the title "Single Santa Seeks Mrs. Claus." I'm like, oh no, are we doing like a joke on like Santa being single? I don't know. That's not really interesting. None of these guys seem very memorable to me. Like, you know, we've said a couple that I think are memorable, like Paul Giamatti, people remember. Like John Call is one people remember. Like me, I remember that one. It's not until we get to number 14 where I'm like, this is like one of the better modern interpretations, because you have an actor with a very distinctive energy that has aged into that role, and that is Kurt Russell in the Christmas Chronicle films, which I haven't seen the second one. I'm sure it's fine. That's when Goldie Hawn plays Mrs. Claus. Kurt Russell as Santa is a great pitch, because you have an actor with great charisma who has become a silver fox in his 70s that can just destroy a scene. And he has, see, this is what I'd rather see aside from J.K. Simmons, you know? I don't need that type of Santa. If you're going to give me like an old veteran actor become Santa in like his golden years, this is what I want to see, is just Kurt Russell just crushing it with his energy. You know, it is like a Netflix movie, and it's got like the Netflix aesthetic to it, but you can tell there was a genuine effort put in by everyone involved to make a modern Santa that feels like a modern guy, and him being like a product of the 80s, like Kurt Russell is like the perfect thing to do. He's a cool, badass guy. And he's got like the energy that you want. If you're going to do like the MCU-ification of a Santa, this is what you want to see. And that's cool. I like that. That's probably next to John Call. That's probably like my favorite Santa on this list. Number 13, dozens of naked Finnish men in rare exports. I don't know what this means. Let's just read it. Rare Exports is the most creative of many killer Santa horror movies that have been coming a steady since blah blah blah. Okay, okay. I guess there's that Krampus movie. Maybe there was a Santa in there. What if, like, whatever. Okay, I don't care about that one. Number 12, John Goodman, The Year Without a Santa Claus. Oh, no. That's another name where you're like, oh, yeah, John Goodman, there's a guy that could be Santa Claus. That makes a lot of sense. And that's fun. So is this, like, a live-action retelling of, like, the classic Rankin and Bass short? Or is it just like taking that name and trying to do something else with it? I don't know. That seems interesting. Think vinyl trench coats, aggressively layered hairstyles, and Carson Kressley as Santa's gay stylist, who makes a nasty gastric bypass surgery joke in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Add in Delta Burke as Mrs. Claus, Chris Kattan as Santa's manager, and Carol Kane as Mother Nature herself. And it barely needs to be said that this satirical take on the Yuletide commercialism only bears a loose resemblance to the 1971 Rankin Bass short it is based on. I mean, that sounds fucking insane, and I'm not against it, but for what you'd want from John Goodman as Santa, maybe it's not that energy. But I guess if you're... this kind of sounds like he's taking his Walter from Big Lebowski and doing a Santa Claus thing with it. Maybe that could be funny. It's fine. Number 11, David Harbour, Violent Night. I did watch Violent Night. I thought that was a pretty fun premise. What if Santa was sick of being Santa because kids only want iPads now, and he has to die hard his way out of a house when like it's taken over by terrorists? A great premise. I was talking about this when we were talking about Creature Commandos a couple days ago. The thing about David Harbour is, though he may not be like the best actor out there, and I don't think he is, he has been given so many opportunities to shine in a very specific way. There are few actors who would take the curmudgeony, sad, gluttonous bloke who hates himself and is self-loathing and run with it the way David Harbour has. He is so good at making fun of what people think he should be playing, and this is a great idea of that as well. This movie is pretty fun. I mean, it's not the best Santa movie, but it's an interpretation of Santa that is clearly thought out and has some energy going to it, which I think is kind of what you need for a movie like that. So this is a good one. Violent Night, a great play on the title Silent Night. Very fun movie. It is supposedly getting a sequel, and I do want to see that. What does his Mrs. Claus look like, you know? Who would marry this freak? Number 10, Whoopi Goldberg, Call Me Claus. I have definitely seen this one at some point in time because I do like Whoopi Goldberg. For the most part, I like her. I think she's fun. And this is kind of like when she was just everywhere. It's like an early 2000s movie where they're like, yeah, what do the kids want right now? They want some Whoopi Goldberg. And they got it. And it's just fine. Like, I don't think it stands out or is special in any capacity, but it does the job and it works. Cool. I don't know. Number 9, Jim Broadbent, Get Santa. Okay. I don't know too much about Jim Broadbent, but I'm seeing a picture here, and when I close my eyes and think of Santa, so far this is the guy that looks the most like what I imagine Santa to look like. And I really vibe with that idea. I mean, this seems like a nonsensical movie that's just all over the place. There's like a squirrel that he's friends with, and okay, let's see. If this gives us information, the human drama here is your usual distant dad variety with a jailhouse twist that brings Santa into the orbit of recently paroled career thief Steve and his smartass son Tom. Kit Connor, interesting. Santa's braided beard and denim prism uniform give him a Harley Davidson vibe until he starts talking. That's when Broadbent's whimsical eyes take over, splitting the difference between a doddering old coot and magical elf. Broadbent even looks like a classic wizard type Santa with his little round glasses and beer gut. Okay, that sounds awesome. You sold me on biker Santa. That sounds sick. Number 8, Anna Kendrick, Noelle. Was she Santa in that movie? Or is she just like, was she Santa's daughter or something? I never saw it. Do you remember when Disney Plus launched and this was like one of their big movies? I do. I never watched it because I don't care. Okay. Hader's character canonically smells like hot chocolate and peppermint, but other than that, he's wholly unsuited to take over the role of Santa after his father's death. Early on in the film, Nick Kringle runs off to Phoenix, Arizona to escape the cold and his responsibilities. As a yoga instructor, prompting his sister Noelle to follow him and try to talk to him into accepting his burden with grace, fish out of water comedy ensues. Okay, so she's not Santa. She's Santa's daughter? So it's not really like, she's not really playing Santa, but who cares? She has to become a Santa character. That sounds fine. I don't know. Why not? Cool. I like Anna Kendrick. I'm sure she did a great job in that movie. It's fine. Number 7, Bill Goldberg, Santa's Sleigh. The film takes place in Hell, Michigan, a real place that has really leaned into its name in recent years. Here, it hosts a supernatural slasher plot that makes up the whole new mythology of Santa Claus, reimagining him as Satan's only son who condemned to an eternity spreading Christmas cheer after losing one of those bets gods are so fond of. Okay, so what if like Santa was like pushing a rock up a mountain and it fell down every time he got to the top, but he was like evil or something? That's number 7. Sure, why not? Number 6, we're moving on quickly because I don't give a fuck. Tim Allen, the Santa Claus 2, the Santa Claus 3, Escape Clause, and the Santa Clauses, the new Disney Plus show. Now we are talking perhaps the best Santa Claus there is, because he's appeared in more Santa Clauses than anyone ever Santa Claus. Tim Allen, a guy I guess I like. I'd say I'm a fan. I don't know. He's fine. He's like a normal guy. He's divorced and he's unhappy, and then he like accidentally kills Santa, and then he has to become Santa. And then David Crumbles is like, yeah, you're Santa now. We're all kind of sick of this shit, but you're Santa now. Great movies, by the way, like really weird, insane premises that just keep spiraling out of control. He has to find like a Mrs. Claus, and then she's going to turn into like an insane person. It's good. It's good. I'm glad that these movies exist. Like, this is, I think, for a whole generation, especially mine, because a lot of it's like 2000s stuff and 90s stuff. Like, that is our Santa. That's who we think of. Maybe. I like it. I like it. But at number 5, somehow over Tim Allen is Paul Sorvino in Santa Baby 2, Christmas Baby, taking over the role from George Wendt, who I guess was too good to do it again. Paul Sorvino as Santa, that is a pitch I love to hear. Have not seen this, but I love that idea. That's really cool. But really, that performance you're ranking above Tim Allen, who's kind of like been the definitive Santa Claus to a whole generation. You just like Paul Sorvino. I don't care what you say. You just like Paul Sorvino. Number 4, now we're talking Edmund Gwenn, Miracle on 34th Street. I like Miracle on 34th Street. I love classic films. I don't think that is that's not uncommon for you to know about me at this point. This is what you want to see from Santa. You know, he's a nice, jolly guy who is just helping people realize who they are and being a good person, and that's what it's all about. There's just something so gentle about a guy who exists and the world's still like, are you real? He's like, yeah, I am. It's kind of nice, isn't it? Really interesting. Oh, so gentle and sweet. I really like Edmund Gwenn in this. Really fun movie. A young Natalie Wood appears in this movie as well. Really fun. I like it. He's the only actor to win an Oscar for Santa, which is something I just love to know about this guy. Because is there any other performance that we've mentioned so far that is like worthy of being an Oscar-worthy performance? Obviously, J.K. Simmons in Red 1, but aside from him, is there anyone? Probably not. It's just really cool and nice that that's possible and happening. So I think that's awesome. This movie's great. Oh, it's so cool. Okay, number 3, Ed Asner, Elf. Elf is a movie I don't really love as much as other people, but I think Ed Asner is just a perfect choice for that kind of thing too. You just look at that guy, you're like, yeah, you can give me a curmudgeon Santa with him. You know? He does so good. Like that movie, I don't really love what it does, but none of the Santa stuff is bad. You know, it's so cool. It's so great. Very fun. Yeah. I don't know. Ed Asner, he fucking rocked. I love Ed Asner. No dull performance from him whatsoever. Just always committing 100%. If it's even just doing a voice or just being upset, he was so gifted at everything. Number 2, David Huddleston, Santa Claus the movie. Man, it's been a while since I have seen this movie, but I remember it just working so much for me. Like, it's one of those ones that just had like what you want from Santa. Like, he was so interesting, so capable, and you just have like an interesting 80s type of history towards the character too, where you're like, this feels like it came out of the 80s. It was an 80s movie. That's what you want to see. So cool. I think I want to rewatch this one. Maybe, I think if we do any like Christmas movies this season, it might be this one, and it might be Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. We'll see. But this movie is referenced in the Christmas script I wrote, so that's exciting. I don't know. It's kind of fun. Good movie. And number 1 on this list from Vulture is Richard Attenborough from the remake of Miracle on 34th Street. Which, sure. You know, Richard Attenborough, another name coming out of the 90s. You're like, this is a guy that could be Santa, I guess. Works for me. How do you guys like your Santa? Do you like him being like American? Do you like him being British? I think the idea that like this particular look comes from Coca-Cola should lean more into being like American or just kind of, Midwestern, I guess. I don't know. I look, I like Edmonds' work more than Richard Attenborough's as this character, but I'm not against this at all. This works pretty much what you need it to do. That's fun. That's fun. I don't know. Weird list. If I had to pick my favorites on this list, let's go through it again, okay, folks? My favorites would be David Huddleston is a good one I like. I like Edmund Gwenn. I like that. I like Tim Allen. Tim Allen's a good choice. Okay. David Harbour, I'd put on the list. Kurt Russell. And then I would say John Call. Those are the ones I like. Those are my favorite Santas. Now, we could talk about animated Santas as well. That's a whole other conversation. Santa Claus in comic books, because there's a Santa Claus in Marvel and in DC. We could get to that another day. But just for movies, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Santas are pretty cool. Which one's your favorite? I'm leaning towards John Call just because that movie's freaking sick. But let me know what you think. Who's your favorite Santa? Who's your favorite Mrs. Claus? Who's your favorite elf? It's probably Will Ferrell because, God forbid you name another one. Bernard is better in the Santa Claus. All right, folks. Merry Christmas to all, though it's only a few weeks away till Christmas. But hey, Santa, baby, hurry down my chimney tonight, buddy boy. Thank you all for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.